So we're talking about the Ufer, the Urban Fringe race. Tell me about the different components and how you selected those different components.
Well, I picked things that I had done during a triathlon. It's a hard-earned swimming ability. I can swim, and I can and I can swim for a distance. And so I wanted to maintain my swimming. I don't want to let that go. That's not just a seasonal thing I want to say I did when I was doing triathlons. I'm now a swimmer, so I want to be able to swim and enjoy that. So I had to have a swim component. And I also wanted the safety. I wanted to be able to say that my nervous system can calm down now. I don't need to wake up every morning going, what am I doing? I'm paralyzing myself with fear. So I had to have a swim, and I picked the Fairmont swimming pool. That's where I train. Okay, it's Megan and I. Hi! We're in front of the pool. It's about 6:30. This is what it looks like outside. We're about to start. And also I knew it was a fair distance from there to the foothills, so it'd give me a nice ability to go in and swim. I kind of knew who's there in the morning, and I knew it would be a peaceful place where I could start. And there I wouldn't have to fight with crowds. I could get into a swimming lane, do my 400 meters, and get out, and get on a bike from there. And the fun part about it, the Ufer, you know, I didn't think of this name until I put it together, is getting in a beautiful urban setting and then getting to the fringes where the mountains or something challenging is out there. So I wanted to bike ride up to one of the standard challenges here at Jim Jones in Salt Lake. Is when the Marines come in, they have them run up Beacon Hill, and it's a pretty steep hill. It's only 2 miles, but it's 2,000 feet in elevation gain. So in order to get up that quickly, you need to be in good shape, and you need to have trained. So they test the Marines when they get here how fast they can get there to the top. So I wanted to use that, and you and I had found the South Ridge to be a real fun ridge. So I wanted to have fun, so let's do something that's challenging, that we enjoy. And so that's why we picked Beacon. It's not an easy trail run. And then I wanted to have it pretty early in the race, because that would be mammoth trying to do that as a last piece. So I wanted to hit that while I was still fresh. And then I wanted a long bike ride, and the intention is to go up a canyon or go up a steep incline. So you have a challenge, and at the end of that challenge on the bike, you stop and you put a puzzle together, a mind puzzle, something that tests your mental capacity. Can you remember a code? Can you put together, can you reassemble a gun? Can you? And so I remembered having the game Rush Hour, and I wanted to have something that I enjoyed. I like manipulating the little cars, and there's pretty challenging puzzles. So I wanted to pit myself against that and say, well, where will my mind be 75% into the race? Will I be, excuse me, will I be capable of even solving one of those puzzles? So it was a question, it was a hypothesis. And then I wanted to ride back to the urban center where it started, and my home was fairly close to Fairmont Aquatic. And I've had a pole or a rope up in the top of the tree, and I wanted to be able to climb. That's a new skill I've gained this year as I'm contemplating maybe trying a Spartan race or something. And I wanted to be able to learn that skill, so that was a new skill this year. And then as a kid, I was always a really pretty good shot, and I enjoyed target shooting. So the challenge that kind of mimics a biathlon is getting your heart rate up in the climb and doing that several times in a row, and then calming yourself down enough so you can have the precision to be a marksman. And then also Rob, my trainer, and Mark Twite, the owner of Jim Jones, there's always a penalty for certain things if you can't reach them. And I thought, well, why not have a penalty? And even in the Spartan races, if you can't do one of the skills, then you do burpees. So I thought if I miss one of the targets, I'll do burpees. And at the point in time when all the targets are shot, because you only get one bullet or one BB per target, you need to be precise, then you do burpees. And so I did burpees to end. I missed 2 of the targets. So I put together things that kind of made sense in my head. And then when I looked at it, I thought, it's urban, but most of it's on the fringe. So we'll call it the Urban Fringe Race, Ufer. Nobody else has that. It just, I don't know. May not make sense. It may not hold if we do these in the future. But for me, it made sense. So those are all the pieces, and how come I put them together. And they were fun. They were really fun.
Tell us how you got back into competitive athletics.
Yeah, it'd been a while since high school and college days. I had been working with a client, Jim Jones, and when we finished, they asked me to become their client. And in the process of working with them, one of the rules of being at the gym is that you have to have a functional purpose for your fitness. It can't just be you go and work out, because they don't really have workouts there. They have a training program. So I was challenged that if I wanted to stay there and be there and have that level of training, I needed to have a purpose. And I'd done a double body deadlift, and it changed something inside of me, where my confidence and my ability to understand what I could do with the training and goal setting and the power that was inside of me that I hadn't tapped before kind of made me aware that maybe I should go after something that I'd been in the closet about for a long time. And that was, I was turning 50, and I was a non-swimmer. And I've been terrified of drowning since a childhood near drowning incident. And that just gave me an opportunity to say, there's a piece of my life I haven't been honest about, and this is an opportunity to finally face off with that fear. So even though it came out in the arena of competitive sports, it was more of a crucible for me.
So what direction did your training take after that realization?
Well, I knew that swimming, I need to know how to swim, and I had learned in the gym I was pretty good at endurance. So I put two and two together and thought, well, let me try triathlons. And then I looked at the variety of triathlons. You know, there's everything from a sprint to an Olympic to an Ironman. And looking at my family life and my work life, I had the ability to do the sprint. I knew I could give it enough time and energy to do just the sprint, which in and of itself, you know, that's a good challenge. There's nothing diminishing about a sprint. It's just I knew I would have the amount of time and energy to give to that. And really what I was looking at was not becoming a competitive athlete. I was just looking at, give me a sport that will really use my endurance and allow me to face off with this fear and even see if I could beat it or meet it. And the sprint triathlon just kind of seemed like intuitively and intellectually the right thing.
Tell me about the Ufer. Now, you've done several seasons of sprint triathlons, and you've transitioned into the urban fringe race, which is kind of exciting. Tell us about that transition.
Well, for a period of time, the sprint tries kept me occupied, facing off with this fear, this challenge, being able to get into open water in a wetsuit with the churning water of other people swimming with you, and I did that. I would swim and bike and run, and I had medals. You know, I have some gold medals, I have some second place, I have a third place. I've not made it to the podium. I've had a variety of experiences, and the common thread was each time I met the fear, I swam through the fear, and then I went on to do the endurance thing. And it took its toll on me. Mark Twight wrote something about that time that said, you know, don't define yourself. Don't let a sport or something like that define who you are. And I always felt a little uncomfortable when people say, well, she's a triathlete. Because in my heart of hearts, I knew I'd done that, but I didn't know if that really is how I wanted to define myself. And then also, I got up every morning during those years when I was doing the open water triathlons with a fear that I might not be alive the next year, because I'd be putting myself in that dangerous situation where my panic could go off. And I might panic in the water in the middle of a swim, and I had some close calls with getting hit where it was just really frightening. And it was like, wake up, Lynn. How often do you need to do this? You know, you've proven this. Why do you have to go face off with those demons all the time? There's a growth somewhere else. And as soon as I got my head wrapped around that, I realized, well, why don't I have fun? You know, you put so many hours into something, why don't you have fun? And so I started thinking, what would be fun? Well, I want to keep swimming because that was a courageous new thing I could do. I wanted to keep biking because I enjoy the biking and I'm pretty good at it. The running, I want to have joy in the running as well. I don't want to have to run a marathon, but I like to move inside my body. And then I thought, I like to climb. That's a hard thing for me. So I wanted to learn to climb a rope and vertically up, come back down. And I wanted to add shooting. I wanted something, you know, either target shooting with a gun or with arrows. I wanted something that had some precision. And I've always been a game player. So I love this idea of putting a mental puzzle like somewhere in the sport so that after you're spent physically, you have a chance to see what's in there mentally. Mm-hmm. And so putting it all together excited me. It was actually being a little bit bored mm-hmm. and being ready for a transformation and listening to my mentors and realizing you don't have to let anything define you. You can get off a rung on a ladder and go to a higher place. And somehow starting in an urban setting with swim, so it could be in a swimming pool, and then riding to the fringes, because here in Salt Lake we have beautiful foothills, and using those as part of the course. So riding on the road, but getting off course, off road, enjoying a sunset or a sunrise while I'm trail running, getting back on the bike and going somewhere up one of the canyons. It just organically grew to being something that kind of made me excited. And so I just thought, gosh, and it's going to take me longer. It's going to take me longer than a sprint try does. So it pushes me to another level of fitness and another level of awareness about what can be done in the human mind. And I'm not doing this for athletics. I'm doing this because of the growth. I learn things about myself, and I learn things about how to be there to support people across the threshold, across the edges, to the next level by living that out in some sort of lab. So, you know, really to make a long story short, I looked for another sport, and there wasn't one that matched up with what I wanted to do. So I made my own up. I just made it up. Why not?
Right.
I've been doing that all my life. If there's something that you want and it's not there, make your own.
Right. So the Ufer is longer than a sprint triathlon. How much longer?
Well, again, it was kind of an experimentation, which was fun for me to not know, you know, and the unknowing. I calculated all the pieces together and thought it would take me, I wanted to do it in under 5 hours. And of course, the last minute had to get changed because we couldn't go up one of the canyons we wanted to. So I thought it would be between 4 and 5 hours. I really did. And the surprise was the morning of the Ufer when we finished. I did it in 3 hours and 44 minutes. So that was, to me, really exciting because it was like, you know, sprint triathlons, even the longest one I've done and the hardest one I have done is the Xterra, is always, you know, a sub 3 hour thing. So going over 3 hours and pushing 4 kind of puts me in the same place of being active as long as some people do in marathons. Mm-hmm. So I kind of wanted that distance, and I'm breaking it up. I'm not the sort of person, I get so bored with just running or just biking that if you can break it up and you're doing over a marathon, to me that just seemed like a nice marriage. So it's more than just the time too, it's how many miles, how much distance do you cover in that?
How much distance did you cover?
Well, I'd have to go back and look. We were tracking it on Strava. I believe, well, the swim was 400 meters. The run was 2 miles up and back, a little bit over 4. And the bike ride itself seems like it was 17 miles. And then you add up and down the rope. So I'm not sure. But that's kind of the joy of this first Ufer is it was all experimentation. Let's just see what happens. You can't think your way into it. At some point, you got to just go do it and see what it is. So we'll be a little more precise when we do some more. But it was over somewhere between probably 17 and 20 minutes, or 20 miles. Hmm.
So you were pleased with the outcome. You came in well under your estimated 4 to 5 hours at 3:44, 3:45. You said was your finish time. What's the next step? Are you going to do another race then? It sounds like you've got plans to keep this going.
Yeah. Well, my intention is to do it twice next season and see if I can improve the time and also get it more precise as to how the course works out. Because I know there are people, when I've talked about this, that are like, I want to do that. I want to do that with you. And so I want to keep it underground and keep experimenting and innovating with it to a point where we'd be willing to open it up and let other people join. So that was one of the outcomes. I was excited to do it. There's something very gratifying in making your own creation and then experimenting and seeing how it turned out. And I was delighted. And I also discovered that I was enlivened and excited again to be in a sport. You know, you just do, when you train at something like this, you put so many hours in, you better like it. You better have some kind of enjoyment or you'll burn yourself out. And the other thing that was so delightful, I didn't expect, all three of the children came, and Shannon, a coworker, and you know, my partner Susan seen me in so many of these races, so she had to work that day, and she's been there supporting me in these early mornings and these new experiments, and so it was a new audience. It was my kids, and I can't tell you what that meant to me. It was fun. It was like, oh, my favorite people are here, and they're with me, and they're supporting me, and it's just indescribable what that meant to me. I know we were running up Beacon, and I was enjoying it. And I think I turned to you a couple times and said, isn't this great? Look how pretty it is, the sun's coming up. This is so fun. And I'm in the middle of a race. And I haven't had that in the sprints for a long time. And then, you know, it's 6:30 in the morning and Megan's meeting me in the dark, and I'm thinking, this kid doesn't get up early. She is not a morning person, but she's here for me. And she sat on the pool, and, you know, we were really the only people on that side of the pool. And it was just, you know, I was counting and telling her the laps as I came. And it was just fun to have people there. And then Jessica shows up, and she's filming and hanging outside the Jeep as you guys drive by and capturing it and kind of directing some of the pieces that she knew we were going to do with the puzzle. And it's kind of like Christmas morning. And so not only was it fun, it was heartwarming because my kids were there. And I just discovered joy in movement again.